Hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region, and welcome to this special Free State Colorado interview and presentation. Tonight, we're joined with special guest Natalie Menten. You may know as one of Colorado's liberty leaders, advocates for taxpayers, and a Jefferson County watchdog. Natalie, how are you this evening?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Well, Natalie, you were recently featured in an exclusive interview with Shaun Boyd discussing what was going on in Jefferson County. I'm really excited to hear what you found. All this connections, these potential political malfeasance, at least a waste of taxpayer dollars. I think we can agree on that. So, really excited to jump in here and get going.
Thank you.
Perfect. So, Natalie, we're going to be talking about what you discovered in Jefferson County, and it was exposed in this article from Shaun Boyd. Really encourage people to go to the link at cbsnews.com, find this article. Two Colorado counties and RTD use taxpayer dollars on political consultants to generate more tax dollars. Natalie, you're making headlines here. This was recently updated on February 1st, 2024. So, a really recent story, really pertinent to the 2024 elections. Natalie, how did you make this connection with Shaun Boyd to get the story out there?
Well, this actually was part two in a series. What really started this was back in September last year, when the county was getting ready to once again, instead of doing a logical process of issuing our TABOR refunds, our property tax refunds, through lowering the property tax bill that one would pay, they had again held the money hostage pretty much. We're getting ready to send refund checks to people along with a one-sided letter and waste more taxpayer money mailing it out, cost of $215,000 each time they would mail out our TABOR checks with this biased letter. And I reached out to Shaun to see if she was interested in the story, and she got right on it. At that time, I had done some other research because I'd been watching the county. What were they going to do? What were they going to go to the ballot? Were they not? And realized they were getting ready to hire a political contractor to pave the way for a tax increase. So at the time they were getting ready to mail checks, and I was dealing with Shaun on part one, we knew there was a contractor. The RFP, had, a request for a proposal, had gone out. But at that time, I didn't know all the responses, the contractors, the vendors, let's call it this, political operatives, who are going to respond to that bid, take public money to go out and take more from taxpayers. So when it took weeks for me to get this information from Jefferson County as to when they finally signed the contract. And I knew Bighorn was, which we'll talk about in a minute here, was one of those vendors who had responded. And really from there, it became a bigger picture, more than just Jefferson County. So as I was talking to Shaun, and let me tell you, she's really, really wonderful to work with, really good. It was more about this being like a singular story. So if you think about major news in the metro area, if you're talking about a Jefferson County issue or Douglas County, Arapahoe, whatever it may be, a city, it doesn't have the broad impact to taxpayers, the meaningful impact like something that goes across the board. So the more I'd start to dug into it, and I knew what was going on in another county, not only was it Jeffco who was using public money to hire political operatives, but it was also Arapahoe County. It was also the Regional Transportation District, which is third, fourth largest government in Colorado, getting ready to use our money to go to the ballot. And so she quickly understood that the bigger picture and the more meaningful story was to talk about how this was really going across the board. We actually have Jefferson County schools getting ready to do this. And like I talked to her about, that was just in the little realm of the world that I looked in. So when we talk about, is this problem just narrowed to these governments we're talking about in this article? No, this stuff happens in a lot of places. And I don't want to go off on that too more, but that's where we're at now. So this is really story two of what we'll say later is a little bit of a mini series because so many things going on. So go ahead.
Perfect. Well, really appreciate you putting in the work and building that relationship with Shaun Boyd to get this information out there. This is so important, and more people need to know about it, the better.
Yes.
So let's take a little look here at the CBS News article, kind of highlight some of the key passages. Definitely check out the website link there, because there's also a video that you can watch with Shaun and Natalie kind of going into this. But looking at the article, of course, the article begins talking about these massive property tax spikes that we've been talking about for quite some time, Natalie. So, of course, that's a big part of the story. Another part of the story, though, is the second paragraph here, and I thought this was so important. A really important part of it was how, under state law, a government entity can't spend more than $50 to support a measure after it's on the ballot, but there's no limit to what it can spend before it makes the ballot. So Natalie, it seems like these governments, like Jefferson County here, has a free reign basically to use taxpayer resources, to use county resources to try and get to take away more of our taxpayer money. They just have to do it before it gets on the ballot. Is that accurate?
Yeah. The best way I can describe it is it's a loophole in the law, because the people I run into, when you look at these contracts with the operatives, um, they are basically electioneering. And the loophole is that they can spend an unlimited amount of money, uh, depending on what they physically got, but on campaigning before it officially becomes a ballot issue. And the fact is, local governments actually, they'll wait until the last minute to officially make it a ballot issue. And when that occurs, timing wise, in the normal year, that means you're in July, maybe even potentially August, when they're voting on it. So all the months leading up to that, they're able to use public money to pay $340,000 of money for a contract which literally has red flags all over it that they're campaigning. And just to clarify, when state law allows that $50, that doesn't mean that every government or elected who watches this video or the Shaun's story should go out and spend $50. That was meant to provide a cushion that if somebody says, okay, well, you held this event and it had or you've got a phone line, let's say that's a better example. You've got a phone line, the phone line costs X amount a month to have, and 3 people called you to ask your thoughts on the ballot issue using an indirect, let's call it that, an indirect. It does not mean go and get $50 from the petty cash store at City Hall and go out and buy flyers to put on doors, although governments do that. But that's the deal. Now, this loophole, like I say, this goes on in Colorado, just within the short amount of governments I looked at that might have a potential tax increase. Doing some digging on whether they were going to put out RFP for a political contractor or not was not that difficult. And my hit rate here was pretty darn high. So if we've got other governments, very possibly they are doing some, let's just say, be fair. There are other governments that could likely do the same thing. And it takes activists to figure this out, because the government does, oh, by the way, we're going to put out a bid and we're blasting it over at town hall that we're going to spend a few $100,000 on a political operative to take more of your taxes. They don't broadcast that stuff. They're very, they've got trainees for this stuff. There are consultants who make hundreds of millions of dollars. If you were to look at all the consultants that are in this little tight weave, well, okay, I'll stop. You can go forward now.
No, definitely appreciate the passion, and that's really
The
what
cozy relationship out there.
exposing it, getting it out there. Like you said, it's not broadcast, it's not advertised. These politicians don't want people to be aware of what's going on. So important what you're doing, Natalie. I want to read this paragraph here from Shaun Boyd's great article. Natalie Menten, founder of Colorado Engaged, says the Jefferson County Board of County Commissioners is among those using the loophole to run political campaigns on the public's dime. A political activist, government watchdog, and chief nemesis of the commissioners. Love that line. Menten says they're plotting
I guess
against
that's
their
my
own
crown
constituents.
now.
Chief nemesis. Menten says they're plotting against their own constituents by paying a political consulting firm $340,000 of taxpayer money, all because they want more more of our tax money, really.
Yes.
It's a great paragraph there, great line. Let's move through the article a little bit more, see what else is here. So, as you pointed
Right.
out, very important consideration here is that Jefferson County is one of the few counties left that does have taxpayer Bill of Rights protections. Of course, that's why the commissioners feel this need to try and circumvent the state constitution to take more of our tax money.
Yes, because even if they run a sales tax hike, they could do a T-tape. There's multiple things they can do. That's what part of this consultant's going to do, is come up with 3 ballot issues. One of them could be a D-taper. And frankly, taxpayers Bill of Rights doesn't allow D-taper in perpetuity. But it could also be doing a sales tax. If they do a sales tax, it'll have the common language. Can we keep excess revenue forever? So no matter what, I'm sure it will be unconstitutional in how it's framed, and unfortunately they'll get away with it if we let them pass that, which we're sure going to try hard not to. Go ahead.
Definitely got to try get this information out there is one of the keys there. So, Shaun's article here says it's also a bit suspect. She says, that's Natalie, that you say that the winning bid came from the firm owned by someone who's donated to all 3 commissioners' political campaigns and is married to Representative Brittany Pedersen, a Democrat who represents Colorado's 7th congressional district, which includes Jefferson County. There's some cozy relationships going on.
Yep.
And
Yeah, and every time you look, it actually gets more like a complex spider web. Yeah.
so I love this line here from the county. So the county says none of the commissioners had a say in who got the job. Yeah, right. And insists the board is only gathering information for a possible ballot measure. That's it. I mean, they're spending $340,000 to gather information. Seems a little suspect, and we'll get into some of that here.
Yeah.
So moving on here through the article. So you say the job description reads like a campaign manager. So that's a job description in the what they're asking for, what the county was looking for. So I really liked how you pointed out in this article as well, or that Shaun brought up that Jefferson County has been against tax increases, shooting them down twice in the last 4 years, but these commissioners still want to take more of our money as much as they can, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's um persistent. And with Andy Kerr as one of the 3 county commissioners, chief plaintiff in the legal case to get rid of Tabor entirely across the state, it's no surprise that this intense drive is being presented here. I mean, they've gone to that slide. Where to go? Well, I can just say, I mean, if I said it earlier, over $200,000 each time they mailed the check to us with the bias letter, just something else. So you did that 3 times. You got over $600,000 there. You got the $340,000 due Ian Silverii, and there's going to be some other costs too. We are sitting at, just with those things, $997,000, almost $1 million. Oh, hey, we got that right there. Sorry. I was reading. See, I'm ranting away. I'm not reading because I said
No,
it earlier.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head and it deserves repeating. That's nearly $1 million of Jefferson County taxpayer money being
Yeah.
spent with the purpose of taking more taxpayer money, figuring out ways they can fleece the population and just increase their coffers at the expense of the people. Very shameful behavior from these representatives, supposed representatives of the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they try to say it's about, where was the part, wherever it is, doesn't matter. You don't need to go find it, that they're doing opinion finding and fact finding and da da da. You just easily will have some examples later. It's just so obvious that it's a campaign manager with this contract. Go ahead.
Perfect. So Jefferson County responded to Shaun Boyd here saying they sent a statement when asked about this report, which states, quote, the county has an ongoing budget shortfall that it must address in 2025. Bighorn, the consulting firm, is helping the county understand possible options for addressing this shortfall. Depending on what we learn from the community, the county could choose not to put forth any ballot initiative and proceed with making cuts to the 2025 budget. At this point, no decisions have been made.
Yep.
So let's take a little bit deeper dive here into look at the situation and give some more background on what's actually going on here. So this last line from Shaun Boyd's article here says, Menten says, once voters give up Tabor protections, it's difficult to get them back because in Colorado, you can't bring a citizens initiative at the county level. So Natalie has set up a website, coballot.com, to track 2024 tax initiatives. So a great resource for people out there. Definitely bookmark that coballot.com. Keep an eye on what's going on, and really please check out the CBS4 article and share it as much as you can.
Yeah, and although I didn't put up tell you to like include that on YouTube, I am putting up quite a bit more videos all of a sudden recently on the channel Colorado Engaged. And so that channel is just, there's so many government meetings that don't get posted, people can't find them, and it's so long of a meeting, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. And you really want to get to like a 7-minute clip. That I'm working on some of those where I know there's things that haven't been brought out, they're current events, and I post them at Colorado Engaged.
Perfect. I'll post a link. You
YouTube.
can
Thank you.
link on YouTube in the description of this and the YouTube video, and also at freestatecolorado.com. Find the post for this this video, and you'll see the link there.
Thank you.
Another article to check out too is from Complete Colorado, page 2, from the great Sherrie Peif. Husband of Representative Brittany Pedersen lands hefty Jefferson County consulting gig. Questions swirl around bid process. So this article goes a little bit more in depth on the process in which a county or government agency awards the contract and some of the funny business around that. Anything you want to touch on that, Natalie, just briefly?
Yeah, and there's probably going to be some more stuff coming out on this. Let me just say that about the bid process. So when Sherrie reviewed this, because Sherrie had known that I'd done the story prior with Shaun Boyd, and Sherrie started to dig on some things. So she was looking at when the RFPs get posted, you put them under a category. That way the vendors know this bid is out there. There were questions about that part, but there is also a couple things that I did meanwhile, and I'm going to give it to you actually for the first time here. I did a Quora on the scoring sheet between the two RFPs, and that's a normal process. When you evaluate the two bids, they got a scoring sheet, get a score, compare the dollar amounts. That's really what you're supposed to gauge who you would award in a bid to. In this case, from the Quora I got, so I have it firsthand, Ian came in with a lower score than the other company, and the other company was less money than Ian. We already knew that part. We didn't have the scoring sheet. And it's Ian comes in with a lower Bighorn with a lower score and costs more money. So there'll be a little bit more, I think, about that because there's actually more pieces. It is just the more you dig, the more, you have not the best analogy there is, but let's just say you can keep digging for a while.
Oh, wonderful. Really excited to see that information. Not too surprising, I guess, being as cynical as I am, that the more expensive but politically connected organization won the contract, even though they had a lower score compared to somebody who maybe didn't have the connection, came in at a lower bid price and scored higher for what they were trying to achieve. So it seems like the fix was in my opinion, but I'd love to see more information as it comes out.
Yeah, we're talking like 60,000 extra for the contract that got handed out. So if you just look across at it on a county, on a government level, if you're making those kind of purchase decisions, does that create like budget problems? Is that maybe that'd be a solution? Anyway, go
Right.
ahead.
Review their consulting process of how they award bids. Maybe that'll help them save their money they need.
Well, as I've looked at, the Arapahoe County, which had a lot more bid responses, and whoever RTD, these are the same groups, the companies that like float around, and they're at this trough over here, and this trough over here, and trough over here. And I'm just going, Gotta be kidding me, man. Anyway, go ahead.
For people who want to get a little bit more detail, see some other information, and actually read the entire contract from Bighorn, Natalie has it up on our website at coballot.com/Jefferson-County. Check that out. Here's a screenshot from it. But if you want, we're going to take a couple screenshots here. Look at a couple screenshots from the contract. If you want to read through that whole contract yourself, check it out at coballot.com.
Lots of other documents there too. I'm like where's my professor hat thing? I
Natalie,
have
political
lots of
professor.
documents for you to read. Study up.
Wonderful. Study up if you want to understand how the political process actually works. So here we go. This is from the Bighorn Company. Here's their statement of work. Here's what they provided Jefferson County with what they're going to be doing with this hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayer money. Some of the key lines that we wanted to highlight in response to what the Jefferson County commissioners were saying, right? Supposedly, this is a fact finding mission. They want to just explore ideas. They want to see what they want to get out there. They don't know if they're going to run something on the ballot or not. Well, here's what the Bighorn Company is actually going to say they're trying to accomplish for this big fat paycheck. And that is a consultation regarding potential ballot solutions for funding challenges, including giving them some information on analyzing some recent past ballot efforts to address these funding challenges, looking at Jefferson County election results for recent statewide revenue raising ballot measures and coming up with potential ballot solutions. So what do you think, Natalie? I mean, it seems like the whole point here is to get something on the ballot, and they wouldn't be spending this kind of money unless they had that plan already, if you ask me.
I think the pieces that you're going to go into the next few slides makes a really complete puzzle assembled as to this is a campaign to take more tax money out of people's pockets. Because God forbid we just want government to actually live relative to the economy. How could we, crazy people, I guess, that taxpayers that want, moderate, reasonable growth, what's wrong with you? So, we're going to get educated here. So thank you, because we don't know enough. It wasn't enough that we said no at the ballot box like a couple times. Now we need to get a sales pitch. That's what I think.
Digging in a little bit deeper to this information, this scope of work, this contract that's been developed here, Natalie, do you want to highlight some of the keys here, key points?
Yeah, I mean, it's just okay. I put little red flags on this. It starts out with polling to steer the campaign message. What's going to sell, right? Just like you do in any kind of marketing, you're going to sell hand cream or bubble gum or whatever. Messaging. Second paragraph here, Roman numeral 2. They've located their stakeholders, and in Roman numeral 2 here, determine the extent to which these stakeholders would organize and expend resources. I'm seeing dollar signs there in support of top polling potential ballot solutions. So they're recruiting campaign supporters and donors. That's how I read it. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I read it.
Makes
and it
sense
goes,
to me.
Yeah, and it goes, I mean, we're going to have the next slide. The next one's even more meaningful, I think. Which this one is titled under the section appropriately, Strategic Communications. So you've got the, again, campaign strategy, and then going in down to a typical campaign, you got your messaging, your voter universe. That's what they call it. I mean, you want to drive some people to the ballot and others you don't, right? You want to win your ballot. That's called the voter universe. Messengers. Sounds like many salespersons going around talking about it. Key strategies, tactics. Important on number 5 there to note, it says, I think it was this neutral information, but then it's also saying basically materials that can be shared after a decision on the ballot question has been made. So what Ian is doing, or the company, is not only preparing the information before that officially becomes a ballot issue date, he's also preparing the stuff to hand off to the campaign committee. So picture it like a relay race. I'm going to go through, I'm going to run through, I'm going to get all the voter universe. I'm going to do all this. I'm going to lay out the groundwork for donors, all that, and then hands off the baton when it officially becomes ballot issue. And then it's a community organization, and they all came together, got this info all of a sudden out of nowhere. Meanwhile, taxpayer money put all that work together. That
Wow.
is a campaign.
Wow. Yeah, that is key. That is, I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. The fact that they're using the taxpayer money to basically develop an entire campaign plan, campaign strategy, campaign material, and then, as soon as the county commissioners say, "Okay, let's get on the ballot," of course, everything's there. It's a turnkey campaign ready to go, paid for by Jefferson County taxpayers for the purpose of taking more of their money, impoverishing the community, and growing the size of government. Absolutely and utterly shameful.
Yeah. And just go back to my website, coballot.com. People can go in, they can pull the scope of work, these firms' resumes. That's true for not only this Jeffco issue, but the Arapahoe County issue. I'm waiting on a couple more to populate those. These other contracts read just like this. When you look at their resume and what they've done, it's tax hike after tax hike after. It's very clear. I mean, somebody would actually literally have to be blind and like no nothing any to miss this stuff. I mean, it's that obvious. So this is
Let's
not a
keep going.
single law, one case.
100%, 100%. Let's talk a little bit now about who are the Jefferson County commissioners, right? Because we've talked about what's the issue here. We've seen these county commissioners are coming up with this plan, developing this, working with this relationship with this political consulting company. So who are these people? Who are these people deciding to spend taxpayer money? And who are these people who want to take more of our money away from us? So Jefferson County has three county commissioners, District 1, 2, and 3, as you may expect. Tracey Kraft-Tharp, who is previous experience as a state legislator. Same with Andy Kerr, previous experience as a state legislator. So definitely politically connected people. And then Leslie Dahlkamper, who was on the school board in Jefferson County during some contentious recalls several years ago. So definitely no stranger to political controversy. Definitely somebody who's a little probably more of that union backed, I would imagine, at the time from what I've read, kind of, Democratic insider type. But definitely
She
see a
ran a
pattern here.
school consulting company, I think, before she became a school board member. Just saying.
Oh, really? Okay.
Go ahead.
So here we have some people who've been working for years and years, decades even, to grow the size of government, to push a political agenda. So they know what they're doing. They know what their plans are. And let's look at some of the connections that these people have. So Tracey Kraft-Tharp served in the state house. She termed out the whole 8 years. Colorado's term limits, you can only serve 8 years in each house or each chamber, excuse me. So from 2012 to 2020, Tracey Kraft-Tharp was in the state house and then got elected in 2020 to the county commission in Jefferson County. Andy Kerr served in the state house for 2 terms, 2006 to 2012. So 4 years there. I guess my math doesn't match up exactly, but that should be 6 years there. But anyways, and then went to 2012 to 2018 to serve in the state senate. Kind of a strange time. The state senate has 4 year terms, but there was a redistricting that was going on and kind of had a special election. So he kind of served a shorter time there. But anyways, was elected in 2020 to the county commissions. So this guy has been involved in politics and Colorado politics for a long time here. So we looked at who the county commissioners are. Definitely political insiders, people heavily involved with the state legislator on the Democratic side. But who is this Bighorn Company? We've talked a little bit about some of the people, but here's their list. Here's who they brag they've worked with. So this is the company that Jefferson County has decided to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to. They've worked with the AFL-CIO, Conservation Fund, Stand Up for Workers, Hunger Free Colorado, Boulder Area Labor Council, the Bell Policy Center, Drug Policy Alliance, Yes on FF, a horrible ballot measure last year, Colorado Fiscal Institute, Progress Now, of course. So I mean, there's a common theme here, right? I mean, this is this is a totally partisan organization. These guys work for one purpose only, and that's to grow the size of government, to work for this one particular side of the aisle, if you will. Of course, Jefferson County and then Colorado Mesa University are kind of the outliers there. They're really the only ones there that are not specifically partisan, political, ideologically driven organizations, right? These are governmental entities kind of sticking out. So kind of interesting, kind of gives you a bigger picture of who this Bighorn Company is. Any thoughts on this, Natalie?
I do. I can't share a couple of them because that'll be probably another future story. but
Perfect.
um, but let's just focus on a couple real quick. Bell Policy Center, completely driven mission to eliminating the taxpayers' bill of rights. Headed up by Scott Wasserman, wants progressive income tax, meaning a punitive. You earn more, you pay more than the next guy because you were bad guy and actually earned more than the other guy. You know, you own a justice thing and we're going to take more from you. Colorado Fiscal Institute there. It asks Carol Hedges and group if there's people who are down at the Capitol or the title board saying get rid of Tabor. Those are going to be two of the top two there. There's again, I look at this slide here and look at uh, the very cozy relationship that exists. I'll let you go on to the next one because I know we got more to go through.
Definitely. So on the Bighorn Company website, bighorncompany.com, you can see them bragging with their 25 years of legislative campaign and communications experience. They know what it takes to win. The last line here, we've never lost one. So they say they've never lost a ballot initiative. So they're really selling themselves big to Jefferson County, saying, "Hey, you hire us, you pay us this big bucks, and we're gonna dupe the voters into giving up their taxpayer bill of rights protections."
Yeah, and for everybody listening who wants to get involved, you should, I hope you take that as a direct challenge, just like I do. That they brag they've never lost one using our money, our tax money to fight. It's going to be a big year with the presidential election, but these local elections are so important. That day-to-day guardian watchdog Tabor. And so let's just think about that as we move forward in our commitments through the year. The reserve a few hours to keep our Jeffco Tabor or Arapahoe County Tabor or Jeffco schools, those local tax issues. That's my thing
Definitely.
on that one. Direct challenge. Let's go, Ian.
So moving on, so who is the Bighorn Company? The two partners there, name we've mentioned quite a bit. Ian Silverii, no stranger to Colorado politics on the Democratic side, and then Mansour Gidfar, not as familiar with him, but he, according to the bio here, has previously served as communications director for the Colorado Senate Democrats, overhauling the caucus. He also says that he helped in 2018, which saw Democrats win 5 key state Senate races and major statewide contests to secure trifecta control of Colorado government. So definitely election-driven individuals. We're going to get a little bit more into Ian Silverii here. Definitely a political insider. Let's take a deeper look into his background and his career here. Now remember, this is a guy making $180,000 from Jefferson County taxpayers to try and take more of their tax money. Looking at his LinkedIn account, Ian Silverii, back in 2014, started working for the House Majority Project. So it's a Democratic state House campaigns, trying to secure the majority, trying to get representatives elected for the Democratic Party. He did that for about a year in 2014. Chief of staff for the Colorado House Democrats in January 2015 to June 2016. So that's working with the caucus on legislation, really pushing the agenda, and also really, deciding who's going to be the next to serve in those seats. And then going into Nine News, believe it or not. I mean, it's a shocker there that Nine News might have a kind of a left partisan employee there. So he's a political expert under contract with Nine News from 16 to 18, 2 years and 7 months, providing analysis and insight on their news about what's going on politically. And then executive director of Progress Now Colorado, definitely one of the bigger organizations that has helped secure that democratic control of our state government from 2016 to 2020, 21. Anything to say on this slide, Natalie?
No, not really. Let's just keep going.
I mean, I guess it's not too shocking that Nine News maybe hasn't been covering this issue. It'd be one thing I'd like to say.
I I'm gonna say I wish. I know they've been poked enough times by people following these stories. So waiting for Kyle and Marshall to cover this, cover it. It's more than just one jurisdiction. This going on. This is going on. It's a loophole in Colorado laws, and I need major need media across the board to cover it to stop this loophole that is robbing public money. I mean, it's basically theft.
100%. 100%. Ian also was at the Denver Post for nearly 4 years, working freelance, writing 70 original columns for them, and then started the Bighorn Company in April 2021. So all those connections he made over the years, leveraged that into his consulting company, which is now seems to be paying off. Now he's getting paid, right? And then is an
And by the
adjunct
way,
professor.
I
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. By the way, I was just gonna say, actually, 9 News, I don't need you. Shaun Boyd's doing a fantastic job. Sorry,
Yeah.
I didn't say
No, you're
that.
good. No, it's perfect. So adjunct professor, University of Denver, poor students there. Not sure what this guy knows outside of local politics, but what have you. There's a quote I have from one of my articles I wrote previously, just to give people an idea that progress now is associated with the blueprint model, a term you may have heard, in which a variety of single issue advocacy groups coordinate in support of specific candidates. So kind of another loophole there in terms of having political influence. Progress Now definitely did a fantastic job over the years of securing Democrat majorities, Democrat wins. So talking about the cozy relationships a little bit, right? We've talked about the county commissioners serving in the state legislature, and now that we know, looking at the background here, that Ian Silverii, the guy who just won this contract, also worked in the state legislature at the same time. At the same time, working for these people, right? I mean, Tracey Kraft-Tharp was serving in the House while Ian Silverii was working as either the chief of staff or the House Majority Project. So getting her elected, I mean, he was directly working to help get her campaign elected. I can only imagine if he was doing his job right, trying to get House seats for Democrats back then. And Andy Kerr, he was in the Senate while Ian was out at the state capitol, but pretty close. So I don't know, Natalie, what do you think about this cozy relationship here?
Cozy, like a just in like a snug bug kind of in front of the fire relationship. Very cozy, warm. Everybody knows each other, work next to each other, probably had adjoining offices, shared coffee together, donuts, shared those elevator moments, and contracts being handed around.
100%, 100%, and it's all paying off now. Looking at Tracer, Colorado Secretary of State website to track campaign contributions, campaign expenditures, we see Ian Silverii was paid back then in 2014 and 2013 by the Colorado Democratic Party. So I mean, he was getting tens of thousands of dollars from the Colorado Democrats, working for them, working to get these people elected. So this is a guy who's been an insider, who's helped elect the people who are giving him taxpayer money.
Mhm.
We can see some of the money that he's given over the years, of course, being in his position. You throw $100, $200 here and there to some of your key allies. You show up at these fundraisers, they bundle a lot of it, but you got to you got to open your wallet a little bit, right? So you're talking Mike Weissman, you're talking this Obi guy, this Ortiz, Dylan, Dahl Camper, of course, Katie Marsh, Elizabeth Epps. Elizabeth Epps down there at the state capitol. He gave her $100 for her campaign. Javier Marbury,
Well,
Dave Young.
can you take your little, where's the thing? I don't know where it is. I mean, we got the county clerk there, Amanda Gonzalez, Dahl Camper
Yep.
for Jeffco,
So
Alexis
here's
King.
two.
I mean, it's, yeah, two there. We got Alexis King, that's Jeffco. I don't even want to bring, I'm not going to, I don't even want to, let me just go this way. When we're talking about cozy relationships, I don't feel Alexis King. I don't have any knowledge of her letting these kind of things go through. I don't think that's the case, frankly. Now, others on this list that you got highlighted, I don't have faith in. I wanted to be clear about that because I should say what I've seen firsthand, and that's what I've seen. So you can take the Alexis mark off, but Alexis, you shouldn't take any money from Ian from now on, I would suggest.
So yeah, you can see, Ian, it shows Lakewood here as where he lived at the time. So, we see that it's no surprise that he's been giving money to Democrats in Jefferson County, getting them elected, who are now serving in the county government that is awarding him and his company this money. So, definitely some insiderism here.
Yeah. And you didn't have on there that you didn't have Tracey Kraft-Tharp. Oh,
We
wait,
got
I'm
that
sorry.
coming up
Here, we
here.
got this one here. I'm sorry. My screen was slow. Go ahead.
No worries. So we're breaking it down into some of these individuals. So right, we got the three county commissioners. Ian Silverii has personally contributed to their campaigns. So here's Leslie Dahlcamper. Kind of strange. I was really surprised to see that this was back in 2022, but apparently Ian says he was still working for the Colorado House Majority Project at the time. A little surprised at that based on his LinkedIn history.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, that could just be a tracer fragment from years past.
Yeah. And sometimes people look up the last entry for somebody and just use it versus figure it out
Looking
what
at
they're.
Andy Kerr for Jefferson County as well. Ian Silverii personally donated his campaign back in 2020 when he
Yep.
was working List Progress now as his employer.
Mm-hmm.
And then here we go for the committee to elect Tracey Kraft-Tharp, donating money to her back in 2014. So not only did he personally donate to Tracey Kraft-Tharp, but he also worked for the group, this House Majority group that was responsible for getting her elected and her fellow Democrats elected in the state government. So Ian Silverii, as we've seen, very politically connected, definitely down at the state capitol, connected to the current Jefferson County commissioners, but also another connection to a former Colorado legislator and current congresswoman, and that is Brittany Pedersen. So Brittany Pedersen is married to Ian Silverii. Going in just a little bit about her, she's currently serving in U.S. Congressional District 7 here in Colorado, and then Colorado House of Representatives. She was in House District 28, Jefferson County, and Senate District 22, which, if you look at the bottom there, her predecessor was Andrew Kerr. So definitely no strangers here. She took over for Andy Kerr after he moved on from being in the state Senate. And so, I mean, they had to have known each other. They have to have these connections. I mean, no surprise here, right? It's one big club.
Yeah. And as I recall, Andy was eyeballing running for CD7 when Perlmutter first gave a kind of a preemptive notice I might resign or, end my term. And Kerr was eyeballing it. Brittany was eyeballing it. Kerr then backed off. And so, yeah, these relationships are really deep.
Looking a little bit more at Brittany Pedersen, from 2012 to 2016, served in the state house. So, of course, that's how she met Ian Silverii, I imagine. Was elected to the state senate in 2018 and elected to Congress. So she was serving at the same time as Tracey Kraft-Tharp and Andy Kerr. So, I mean, the people who are awarding her husband a $300,000 contract, she was their coworker. They all worked together down at the state capitol, figuring out ways to fleece the taxpayers back then, and now they're in a position to take even more, this time from Jefferson County.
Mhm.
Looking here too, Leslie Dahlcamper, that current county commissioner in Jefferson County, has even donated $300 in 2022 to Brittany Pedersen. This is from the FEC website. So definitely a reciprocal relationship where they're all working together to further each other's political career. They're in it. It seems like they're all in it together, Natalie.
Yeah.
Just Just wanted to briefly mention, I wrote this up in 2022 about Brittany Pedersen, kind of exposed her voting record as she was running for Congress. Specifically, I really wanted to mention, these are some people who've been in politics their entire life, right? I mean, Brittany Pedersen, Ian Silverii, they're in their early 40s. They've been they're half their adult life, for nearly 20 years. They've been working in politics, so a long time. They've been doing this. Just to give you an idea, Brittany Pedersen, when she was at the state capitol, she got an F multiple times in 2019, 2020, and 2021, an F from Colorado Liberty Scorecard, and one of the lowest rated state legislators from the Colorado Union of Taxpayers with a 5% score.
Woohoo!
So, no fan of taxpayers. Her policies down at the Capitol were about growing government at the expense of the people. This is something Brittany Pedersen doesn't really talk about anymore, but I did want to mention because as we're talking about connections tonight, and that's when she was running for office. This is Brittany Pedersen's 2014 campaign website. So she talks about how she worked for New Era Colorado. New Era Colorado, if you may have heard of this group, them like Progress Now are one of the central hubs of Democratic activism in the state, one of the parties responsible for this Democratic control of our state government. So she doesn't talk about that very much, but according to their old website there, they show that Brittany Pedersen was their Denver organizational director. That's from a 2013 New Era Colorado report. So, I mean, this is somebody who is an insider's insider, right? I mean, this, for those who don't know, New Era Colorado was founded by Steve Fenberg, who's a current Senate president in our state government, Leslie Herod, a state representative and failed Denver mayor candidate, Joe Neguse, another congressman. So here we go, another congressman currently serving, Lisa Kaufman, who was the former chief of staff for Jared Polis, both in Congress and at the governor's office. It's New Era Colorado. Right after the blueprint model was put in action, these were one of the groups that popped up, got some money, and ran these massive operations to take over the state for the Democrats. So Brittany Pedersen, worked for them as well. I mean, it's really insidious when you see that these people have had their entire career based on growing government and taking our taxpayer money. Any thoughts on this, Natalie?
Just a couple slides earlier, you had said that you kind of thought Brittany and Ian met when she was at the Capitol. I think I recall somewhere she was working for New Era, out petitioning or hand out literature, recruiting or whatever. That's where they met. And I already, it's not like I'm digging into their lives, but that's from what I recall. They're at least not digging this. I mean, I never wanted to get into all of this. They started this battle, by the way, right?
Right,
If they
right.
would have never issued the RFP, if they would have left our Tabor alone, I wouldn't have to worry about my part here.
Well,
So
and you bring up a good point there in that campaign trail. So, Ian Silverii was working on the inside with the legislators, right? Trying to get them through their 527, through their PACs to get those people elected to take in the state government, where New Era Colorado was working on the outside. So Brittany was working on the outside, running volunteers, offices, online stuff to get to mobilize this youth vote. So both working hand in hand in a way to take over our state government. So really interesting to see those connections for sure.
yeah,
So kind of the big picture here, kind of breaking it down for everybody, give an idea of giving taxpayer money to politically connected allies. So you got Brittany Pedersen married to Ian Silverii. They're married. Brittany served with Tracey Kraft-Tharp and Andy Kerr. Ian helped elect Tracey Kraft-Tharp and Andy Kerr. And then here we go is that potential payoff. I'd like to say $340,000 then contract coming their way. So it's a very reciprocal relationship.
yeah, yeah. It's you did a very good graphic there, boiling it down because mine would have been all like 400 little webs on the spider things. You boiled it down very nice and simplified because it's pretty complex, and it starts to wonder how many of these other things have gone on and just weren't noticed before, and how far
Oh,
does it spread, frankly.
yeah, this seems to be, maybe there's a pattern, maybe this is the norm, right? Maybe we're just on the outside. We just don't see it happen so often where these people are behind the scenes coordinating these efforts to enrich themselves at the expense of the people.
Yeah, I mean, I've never got when they talk about. I don't get in the federal stuff as much, but these Congress people, their net worth, all of a sudden they went in with $1 million portfolio, and now they're whatever amount, and then you start to wonder about these things. Well, is it because every year they got an extra $500,000 just from contracts within the local area? Who knows? I, I know this for what the really short amount of research I did. I I got so many. We just talked about Jeffco. There's a web going on with Arapahoe. Jeffco School. There's a web going on with that. Uh, I do enough fact checking to know I'm not just dreaming up weak connections, flimsy connections. These are actually pretty strong.
Absolutely wild. Yeah. And you need one of those whiteboards with all those strings or bulletin boards with the stings and the connections. But the money trail's there. I mean, the money trail's there, the history's there, and now we have the internet these days. Colorado's good open records laws to gives us access to this information. And thankfully, this information is getting out. I think the voters hopefully are getting tired and sick and tired of this type of thing where these political insiders are doing everything they can to enrich themselves at the expense of the taxpayer, grow the size of government, gain more control over our lives. While these people like Silverii and Pedersen and the commissioners are sitting on the top of the pyramid, and we're down here just working our butts off trying to get by. It's just
Yeah.
not fair. It's not right.
And simply over the fact that they don't like moderate growth. They want unlimited growth, regardless of the fact that taxpayers, community members are struggling. You know, I mean, look, uh, so yeah. And this will not be the last story on this. I can just tell you.
So kind of
More,
wrapping it all up,
more
Natalie.
coming up. Jeffco taxpayers, if you haven't subscribed to Brandon's channel yet, subscribe because you want to keep up with what's coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah, freestatecolorado.com, Free State Colorado on Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, and YouTube, of course. Colorado Engaged on YouTube as well. And you go to that Natalie's website there. All the links will be provided on the YouTube description as well as on freestatecolorado.com, the post. There's more to come, folks. This is just the tip of the iceberg, unfortunately, but there's a lot going on, a lot to pay attention to, a lot of reasons to get fired up, a lot of reasons the taxpayers, the voters need to say no more, really show up at the polls and get organized, folks. The big thing is the optimistic takeaway I want people to know is that there's something you can do about it. I mean, elections have consequences. Elections are coming up. Even just citizen outcry, getting news stories out like this with what Natalie's doing, being this whistleblower, this watchdog, this somebody out there informing the public, it has an impact. So just need more voices, more people standing up, more people speaking out, more people getting involved, and we can turn this ship around, folks.
Yeah, and so I started to think about, there's a lot of people that read detective novels, we watch mystery shows. The work, people always ask, well, like, how do you become a watchdog and where do you get this stuff and all that? In a way, it's just loving to be a little bit of a sleuth and a watchdog. And so instead of picking up a book, ask your government for your check register, ask them for their purchasing card. And when it just says innocently, consultant for this, start to ask for the invoices. Put down that book that's written by, I don't know, whoever's the latest bestseller, and find your own story, because it can get, actually, I could speak firsthand, a little bit addictive digging into this stuff.
Oh, it's exciting. I mean, it's such an impactful thing to do. And just the fact that, you can't expose this information, it's citizen journalism. We're in the age of citizen journalism, where you can get this information out there, get a big story going and help expose some of this potential corruption, expose this insiderism, expose all the shenanigans that the political class is trying to pull over on the people. So, Natalie, I thank you so much for all your hard work, everything you've done. I really I'm looking forward to hearing more about everything, some of the more recent developments, but encourage people, please share all this information. Let's get it out there, and we'll see you sometime soon.
Thank you, Brandon.
Perfect. Well, take care. See you later.
Bye.